there is a gambling association of internet poker players and advocates who gave Ron Paul an A+ rating for his protection of the liberty to gamble online, and gave Chuck Baldwin an F rating. Several of your supporters on our website say that this rating is inaccurate, and as president, you would do nothing to prevent people from gambling online because you don't see it as an issue of the federal government. Would you care to comment on that?
I'm very reluctant to support the federal government's regulation of the Internet. I know that there's a lot of things on the Internet that I find personally offensive, etc. But I really feel that the Internet is the one, maybe the last medium of information and the exchange of ideas and so forth that is freely left to us. And I've always said that I feel very uncomfortable with the federal government beginning the process of regulating the Internet. So I still maintain my hesitance in that area. I don't know that I've addressed the area specifically concerning gambling or pokers and poker players, whatever it is you're asking me about. But as a general principle, I do not support the regulation of the Internet by the federal government.
Okay, well that's great. I guess the question actually pertains to this Unlawful Internet Gambling Enforcement Act, which Ron Paul opposed and has actually co-sponsored 2 pieces of legislation to have it repealed. And I guess, so you're saying you do not support government regulation of the Internet as it pertains to gambling. Is that correct?
No, what I said was I haven't seen that particular bill. I'd have to look at it. Okay, I can't speak to something that I haven't read.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that as a general principle, as a general policy, I have opposed and I continue to oppose the federal government's regulation of the Internet.
Okay, thank you. Next question, a few of our readers have asked if you'd be interested in participating in debates with some of the other leading third-party candidates, such as Libertarian Bob Barr and Green Party candidate Cynthia McKinney.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to debating John McCain and Barack Obama as well.
Do you have any strategy for how you may be able to gain entry to such debates with McCain and Obama?
Well, I'm very hopeful that our campaign will show enough credibility and viability to the mainstream media and to the other movers and shakers of national politics, so they will not be able to keep us out.
Okay. Next question is how a Constitution Party administration would relate to the District of Columbia. Do you think the federal government should rule over the District of Columbia, or do you think the local government should be in charge?
Well, I think under the Constitution, the District of Columbia is the one area that is under the control of the federal government. I think that if you're asking, if you're alluding to statehood, is that where you're going? That we should?
No, it's just that, for example, if say there's a bill for to allow gay adoption in D.C. As president, you or say that bill were in Michigan. As president, you would not intervene into Michigan, but do you think it's appropriate for the federal government to make laws such as that in the District of Columbia?
Yeah, I think that under the Constitution, the District of Columbia is under the authority of the Congress. So I think I would have no desire to change that.
Okay, another question we had from a reader is, do you perceive any movement on the part of conservative Christians away from default interventionism and support for military ventures?
Okay, now say that to me again plainly.
Okay, the question generally is, do you see, over the course of the past several years, maybe decades, conservative Christians have kind of had a default support for militarism. Obviously, the Constitution Party is an exception to that rule. Do you see any movement more towards the Constitution Party's brand of conservatism versus the interventionist, militarist brand that kind of dominates at least public perception?
I see. Well, when I become president, we'll definitely see a movement in that direction because I'm going to put a stop to it. We firmly believe in the constitutional prescription for the waging of war, and that means that I, as president, I would not send troops to invade and occupy a foreign country without a declaration of war from Congress first. I mean, that is absolutely essential, I believe, to our country's future. And I'm on record as having opposed the war in Iraq from the very beginning. And as president, I will put in place a plan to remove our troops from Iraq as expeditiously and as safely and securely as possible. I've said that over and over again, and I certainly would not have an administration that would be adventuristic in terms of foreign policy. I believe in the Founding Fathers' vision of our foreign policy that we should be that we should trade with all and have entangling alliances with none. And I want to stop foreign aid. I want to stop using that as a political tool. I think foreign aid is wrong on its face, and I would stop it. So my foreign policy would follow that of the Founding Fathers. The writings of Washington and Jefferson and others would be my formula for foreign policy. So I would all we have to do is elect a president that would be willing to follow the Constitution in this area and set a foreign policy in place. And I think once we do that, I think that some of these people in the Republican Party and some of these conservative Christians who seem to be bent on adventure in foreign affairs, I think they would see the wisdom of doing it the right way, and I think we could convince most of them that this is the way to go. But at some point, somebody's got to stand up and say, we got to stop what we're doing and we got to start doing this, and I'm the guy to do that.
Okay. Well, I guess, we're about reached the limit of our time here. I want to make sure you have plenty of time to do what you need to do. So I would just like you to, offer a final closing statement to try to reach out to some of our readers and why they should support Chuck Baldwin.
Okay. Well, I understand that some libertarians do not share my conviction that life begins at conception and that we need to protect it. I understand that some don't share our concerns on the moral issues, but I'll say this to all the libertarians and independents that are listening or viewing your website. If you believe that a secure border is critical to our nation's survival, then I'm the only candidate for president in 2008 you can vote for, because I'm the guy that's going to secure the border's commitment, and I think it's very important. I'm also the guy that has historically stood against the Patriot Act from the beginning. I will set about a policy to reverse the Patriot Act. I will never allow eavesdropping on private citizens without a court order, these warrantless searches and seizures, and all this kind of stuff that's come down the pike under the Patriot Act. I would stop immediately. I'm the guy that I'm going to stop the New World Order, the NAFTA superhighway, and I really believe that NAFTA and GATT and WTO and all those so-called free trade deals have torn our country apart. They've caused our jobs to go overseas. Our manufacturing base is gone. I just came from Michigan. I saw what's happened up there. I used to work there for 2 years. So I know what it was like before. I'm the guy that's going to put a stop to these so-called free trade deals, and I'm going to stop that NAFTA superhighway. I'm going to stop this North American Union that's being developed as we speak. And if people want to put the Constitution back in our country, at the same time, I recognize that we are a nation under God, that we have to respect that we have a duty to our Creator to acknowledge that we are a nation under God, and I'm not ashamed to say that. And at the same time, to respect the Constitution, religious liberty for everyone. I just came from Utah, which is, of course, a Mormon country, and I support the right of people to worship God as they see fit, or to not worship God, if that's what they want to do. And it's none of the federal government's business, quite frankly. But at least as a nation, to recognize that we are a nation under God, and I would do that as every president since George Washington has done. But I would also recognize the constitutional freedoms that we have, and I would protect jealously those safeguards that we find enumerated in the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights.